Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Salami. Today we're doing something I'm really been looking forward to making for a wee while here, and that's talking about what I'm going to pick up a Switch to on day one. There's definitely a lot of chatter going around online. Some people are hyped like me, and then there are plenty of people that are skeptical about the Switch 2, which is also totally fair. And I want to keep things pretty positive and share why I'm pretty excited for the Switch 2. And for me personally, my experiences with Nintendo consoles over the past few years. And so I just want to crack into it. This is just me spitballing, so if you have any thoughts, chuck them in the comments below, and I'd love to talk to you about it. So, brief history, I grew up on Nintendo as well as PlayStation, but for different reasons. So I always had a PlayStation primarily as my home console, where I always had a Nintendo handheld, as that was just the way it was. So I started with a Game Boy Pocket of all things, and had that for a long time. Played a lot of Pokemon Yellow, a lot of Pokemon trading card game. What was the DuckTales, Super Mario, the standard Game Boy games. I kept it pretty standard stuff. I didn't get any of the RPGs or anything like that were on Game Boy at the time, or the Zeldas or Metroids. Unfortunately, I wish I had have, but I just got the kid stuff, I guess. And I think Pokemon Crystal as well, I'm pretty sure. And then moving forward, I never got a Game Boy Advance. I remember borrowing one, but I never got to own my own. For some bizarre reason, I think I was too carried away with playing PlayStation at that point, and I was like, I don't need a handheld. But then that changed with the DS and Metroid Prime Hunters demo. That was absolutely insane, and I couldn't get enough of that. And the fact that the DS also played Game Boy Advance games meant I had a massive catalogue of games to pick from. Big ones that I played on the DS would have been Mario Kart DS. I remember putting a lot of time into that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Fates was a Game Boy Advance game I played a ton of on my DS. Pokemon games, not so much. I think by that time I had started to grow out of Pokemon a wee bit, and I just wasn't too fussed. But I did play Super Mario 3D, like Super Mario 64 3D, and those types of games on this. Oh, I played Final Fantasy 3. So I had a great time on the DS, and then from the DS, I didn't get a 3DS to start with. I did get one eventually, but I think I was by that point onto the PSP or the Vita, so that came a bit later, and the 3DS didn't get as much use as I would have thought. And now I own a 2DS, which I actually want to go back and play Final Fantasy Explorers of all games, because I just want to play it. So that's like my little brief history of Nintendo consoles. I never owned a Game Boy. I never owned a GameCube or anything like that. Unfortunately, I didn't own any Nintendo home consoles. I didn't own an N64. I was always PlayStation or Xbox. And I think my first Nintendo console actually would have been a Wii. I know I got a Wii. And why not even have been for me? I think I might have got that as a present for my grandparents to play bowling and stuff like that. You know how things are, and it ended up back in my hands because they didn't use it very much. So I ended up with the game, Nintendo Wii, and probably the game I spent the most time on would have been The Last Story, a fantastic JRPG on the Wii. Highly recommend. I had a Wii, I got a Wii U, and I played actually quite a lot of Wii U. Funnily enough, I played things like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was on Wii. I remember playing a lot of Black Ops 2 on the Wii U. Mario Wii U, Zombie U. I actually played quite a few games on the Wii U. The only one that I wish I had have played that I didn't at the time would have been Xenochronicles X. Somehow that passed me by. Maybe by then I'd given up on that system. But I did put a lot of hours actually into the Wii U, surprisingly enough. And then I got a Switch, like most people did, 150 million plus. So, and that became my main handheld for a long time. And then I switched back over to PlayStation. I kind of dilly-dally between systems, and now I'm Steam Deck, but now I'm probably going to be mixed Switch 2 and Steam Deck, depending on the titles, because this is why we're talking about this, and how, Nintendo's carved out their own style and vibe, which I actually do appreciate. I know a lot of people don't like the way they do things, but I don't mind it. The Switch wasn't just for Zelda and Mario or anything like that. I did play Breath of the Wild, of course, and all those, but for some reason, with a Nintendo console, it's not about the frame rates or the teraflops. It's just about having fun, and their games are always just good to go. They've just got such good feel vibes. There's just something about a Nintendo game, man. Like Pokemon Sword, so good, like they just make some really fun games. Again, Breath of the Wild, another one. And so, the things we know about the Switch 2, like it's all pretty common knowledge now. It's got a 1080p screen, it's got DLSS support, great load times, better Joy-Cons. The Pro Controller looks sexy, so I've actually pre-ordered one of those. It's got backwards compatibility of Switch games. I have a feeling that most of them are going to be fine, and it's just better than a Switch, faster, sharper, and hopefully no stick drift. I did have to buy a second pair of Joy-Cons for my original Switch, so that's never great. But for me, the exciting part isn't the power, it's just what Nintendo does with what they've got, and they always seem to make some really solid titles. So, for me, the big one, of course, Mario Kart World looks awesome, but for me, I'm personally more excited for Donkey Kong. Looks fan-bloody-tastic. There's just something about it. It's just, Bonanza looks so much fun. Like, it's just unadulterated fun, and along with Metroid Prime 4. Those two are the big two for me this year. I'm really looking forward to both of those, and I'm going to be honest here, I never actually finished Tears of the Kingdom, so my launch day games is Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Mario Kart World. I just might as well get them all physically because I don't own them physically, so that'll be nice to have. And one extra side game that I'm thinking about now is actual Cyberpunk 2077, and the reason I say that is I own it on Steam, and of course you can play it on Steam Deck, and it looks okay, but just starting to see some comparisons between the two versions. The Switch 2 version is looking much sharper and looks really polished. So with that closed system where developers can, code to the metal, basically, you get these like examples of games that work fine on Steam Deck, but because of the way of a closed system of, say, Switch 2, you can just get much more performant out of them, and it does make a difference. So there may be the odd third-party game that I will pick up on Switch 2 if I don't feel like trying to deal with the Steam Deck OLED problems, or quality differences in those. So it's a smaller, like the screen size. Like, I am gonna miss the OLED, but I think the HDR and the 8-inch, the biggest screen, is actually going to be kind of nice. I'm curious to see how that goes going forward. And some of the other games, between the new Metroid Prime 4 is the upgrades to Scarlet and Violet. I had missed those games because of the challenges that they were having on Switch, but with their new update, hopefully they run a lot better, and I'm probably going to get Violet and give that a go and really get into it. And along with that, DLSS is massive, and I think that might be a really big part of the Switch 2 in way it deals with games compared to Steam Deck with upscaling. I just think a built-in machine learning is big, right? Like, that's definitely going to make a difference. Like, I love the Steam Deck, don't get me wrong, but the Switch is where I'm going to go if I just want to play first-party Nintendo games, and, you know, the best version of something is because the PS5, while I own it, it's just not a system I'm using on a regular basis. So I'm really happy to be able to have another handheld which might be able to run things better. And while things like GeForce Now exist, and I actually am subscribed to that, I simply don't use it at the same rate as I should. I'm not sure what that is, the reason behind that is, but I prefer to have the game on the hardware, not in the cloud. And there's no reason for me not to play it through GeForce Now. It works great, they look great. I just prefer it on the system in front of me. So yeah, there's so many options out there, but this is personally what I'm going to be doing. It's just going between Steam Deck and the Switch 2 and playing those two machines on a fairly regular basis. The PS5 is basically out of the question except for first-party titles for things like maybe Ghost of Yotai and maybe Final Fantasy Remake Part 3 or Reunion is the rumoured name, you know. So, but apart from that, the PS5 is now a glorified streaming machine for us at home. But, you know, you do get actually fair good things on Steam Deck in terms of being able to use, say, something like Game Pass streaming and all that, where Switches, you've got NSO, which is actually, I see a lot of people complaining about NSO, but I think for the $70 for the game plus expansions, you're getting quite, I think, reasonable bang for buck, with plenty of additional games always been added to the online service. So, you know, I signed back up for it this week and instantly started playing some N64 games. So I really can't wait to jump into the GameCube stuff. Like, F-Zero is a game I've never played before. I've never played Wind Waker HD on my Wii U at the time, so playing the original GameCube version could be really fun. And they've got plenty of other ones coming as they had their little lineup, like not Three Houses, Fire Emblem, the GameCube version, which looks really cool. And yes, I can play them on my Steam Deck, and I've been doing that with Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. But I think it's just nice to have things that are official as well. It just saves on trying to find the ROMs and downloading it's one less barrier. So that's just something, you know, either me being lazy or I think the Switch 2 is definitely going to have plenty of content in the coming years. I'm definitely not worried about buying the system. And I think for the price, I think people are under, like, it's in New Zealand, it's $800 for a Switch 2, which I think's not too bad considering if you go to JB Hi-Fi to get an LIX, that's like $1,700, or a Steam Deck OLED, you know, even harder to get your hands on because they don't sell them here officially. You've got to get them, you know, imported versions, which then those companies like PB Tech or JB Hi-Fi then put their markup on them. So really, I think the Switch 2 is priced pretty reasonably in New Zealand, considering what you're getting in the box. I think it's pretty solid. But again, you're going to get some extra optimization from first party. And the UI is very clean. I know some people don't like the Switch UI, but it kind of gives me memories of the XMB on the PS3. Not as nice as the XMB, but it's pretty solid. And so, you know, I'm hoping to see some really good advancements on the Switch 2. Specifically, the eShop needs to run faster. That thing runs like pure garbage. And hopefully the Joy-Con drift issue has been sorted. But I mean, to be honest, I'm just going to be using that Pro Controller. I actually will be docking my Switch 2 because that Pro Controller is... I haven't even touched it, but from everything I've looked at and watched on YouTube, it looks amazing and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I can't wait to see what the next Pokemon game is. That's going to get me back into it. And Nintendo has the ability to surprise, they really do. So, and I'm hoping Xenoblade Chronicles X gets updated to 60 FPS. I just bought that the other month, so hopefully they turn to flick the switch for that one. And you know, Nintendo always does their own thing, and sometimes it's weird, but more often it's wonderful. So I'm pretty much on board with the Switch 2. So yeah, that's why I'm picking up a Switch 2 on launch day. It's not about the specs or the latest tech. It's just about having a good time, really. And Nintendo does do that with their first party stuff a lot of the time. And third parties are even getting on board pretty well. Things like Cyberpunk are looking really solid. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your backstory with Nintendo, and if you think they're like this big evil company. But hey, if you just enjoying the chill gaming vibes here, maybe consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. And you guys are great. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.